everyone, it's Meg, and it is the very last moment of the season to plant a fall garden. If you've delayed, if you've procrastinated, if you just feel completely ragged and like there's no hope for a fall garden, I'm here to tell you there's hope, and I'm going to show you all the things I'm sowing right now. Well, the first thing you need for a fall garden is you need open space. I prefer space that's completely open. Right here, I had my summer squash. I took it out a few weeks ago because of squash vine borers. So we are out of summer squash season. And then this is my second succession of snap beans that we have not been very good at harvesting. They're coming out. And let me show you what we're gonna plant in this place. Mustard greens are so great. They're a great addition to the fall garden. I have tried to sow them earlier. I have started them indoors. I no longer start them indoors. I direct seed them like I'm doing with all these things, which makes it really easy and accessible. And these are a great crop to have if you really like sauteed greens. I love them with some eggs for breakfast. Just very lightly saute them. They're absolutely delicious. Mizuna, I kind of lump these together as kind of the same greens. Asian greens are fantastic. Very fast to mature. This says 30 to 40 days. So we are in the pocket for these kinds of crops. Lettuce and arugula. Lettuce, I don't have to grow this for a head. I can grow this for leaf lettuce. I've got tons of seed left in here. I've been using this lettuce for a couple of years now, so it's actually a really good idea to spread this nice and thick and just enjoy it as leaf lettuce this fall. Arugula, I sow this as thick as possible, and we harvest this really late into fall, easily into November. I'm hoping to put some in my cold frame too this year so that we can enjoy this into the holidays at least. Radishes. Quick radishes are a great addition to the fall garden. They bulb usually in about a month. If you have a problem bulbing, they might not be getting enough water, not enough sunlight, or not enough space. So keep trying. I love these. I'm going to sow them now. I'll sow them again in another week or so, and we should have radishes October through December. If I put some in here, we should be able to have them far beyond that. Once November hits, they'll just sit here and wait for me to harvest them, because we will be in the Persephone period. So things won't be growing anymore. They'll just be holding. So anything that I can get to mature before November 1st inside this cold frame, it'll just be refrigeration. All right, so a couple more really great, very fast, frost hardy fall crops are things like tatsoi. So I kind of think of this like a baby bok choy. I know that's not exactly what it is, but much smaller leaves, a little more tender, frost hardy. Okay, you guys, this is 25 days to baby and 45 days to a head. And we could be 3 weeks from a frost. We're about 6 weeks from when we hit our Persephone period. So I got time to get this to mature. If I could get it to maturity and hoop it, I can harvest it even longer. This is a new one to me. Soysum, or Yu-Chu. It's a flowering brassica, and it's an Asian green, and it should behave similarly. I'm excited to grow it. I've never grown it before. Right, this right here, this is my white whale of gardening. I have not really had a good harvest of broccoli rabe yet, and I think it's because I have been messing up the timing every year I've tried. I've tried it early in the spring. It goes to flower. I've tried it late July, August. It flowers. Now, flowers aren't a bad thing because the native pollinators and the honeybees absolutely devour it. I have had it covered in pollinators in years past, especially in September and October. I'm hoping because I delayed so long this year that I'm gonna get a nice crop. It's just an alternative to broccoli, a little more tender, the stem's more tender. We've got plenty of broccoli in the garden, but this will just be a nice alternative, give us a little change in terms of texture in the kitchen and in our meals. All these things, by the way, we love to stir fry and saute up and eat with a protein. All right, this is one of the last things we're going to talk about, which is cilantro. Cilantro is so surprisingly cold hardy. I love it. I've got a couple of rows. I actually have a row right over here that is filling in the shade there between my Gumfrina and our direct seeded bok choy. That's looking pretty fine. And so yeah, I'm going to do some more rows of this. I want these rows though to be in the upper half. I want to be north of this bed right here. So where I pulled out my pickling cucumbers would be another great place to put some of these crops. Those two beds have fall crops in it. It's gonna get shady really fast lower down in the garden. So a lot of those are main season crops. I've got peppers, I've got tomatoes, I've got winter squash, I've got cucumbers and melons down there, eggplants, things that are gonna get killed off by a frost, which is totally great because the sunlight is dwindling. So I'm trying to focus on this north half of the garden when I'm planting my fall garden. Last but not least are bunching onions, scallions, green onions, whatever you want to call them. They're a kitchen staple, just like an onion and just like garlic, and we can grow them any time of year. Here in Minnesota, I've been sowing them, well, since last fall. I sowed them again in the spring. I did some indoors. I've direct seeded them. I've sowed them in my cold frame and I've transplanted them. And I'm doing this again a little bit for the fall, but also to get a head start on spring. So one thing I didn't show you the seeds for is because they're not outside with me right now, and that is spinach. You can plant spinach anytime from now until, I like to say, the fall equinox, which is around the 22nd of September. And I typically sow it later so that it's an overwintering crop, just like the scallions I just mentioned. But if you want to eat some spinach in the fall, get sowing. You could sow as early as September 1st. I'm a little late in letting you know that this year, but I'm hoping by sowing it soon, I probably will try and tuck it in here this weekend, that maybe I can get a little harvest off of it. I'm the only one that eats it in our family, so I try not to grow too much of it. But spinach is amazing. It is so cold hardy. It overwinters here without me doing anything for it. I leave it out. Doesn't matter if there's snow cover or not. It overwinters for me. So at the very least, get some spinach in the ground in the next week or two. And remember, the name of the game isn't doing what other people are doing. It's doing what you enjoy. So maybe there was only one thing I talked about today that's something you like eating. Maybe you hate radishes and you can't stand spinach and the only thing you like is lettuce. You know what you got to do. You only got to sow one thing. So don't think of this as a competition. This is an invitation for you to really understand what you might like to eat later this fall. And all of these things are cold hardy. They are frost tolerant. So even if you have a frost next week and these seedlings are just getting established, don't worry about it. They're going to be fine, just like you.